this channel is for educational or perhaps entertainment purposes only, whichever the law would prefer. It's always important to do your own research and come up with your own conclusions. This video is and does fall under fair use. And I just want to say hello to everybody really quickly. Hey April, hey Maria, Black Uni, Chris, Shannon, ICT, Sparkle, Jake, Something, Neo, True Detective, Paris, hello, Seth, hello my friend, I'll get to your message in a moment here. I think I said Jackie, but hello Jackie, always good to see you. April, hey, good to see you. Sovereign, hello. Trillin, Lou, Eli, hey, I've been a long time. Padawan, hello. Wolf-eyed. And let's see, am I missing anybody else here? Hey, Jammy, hello, welcome. Penny, great to see you. True Detective, hey, hey. May have repeated some of these names, but... And let's see. Let's be one more moment here. I want to say hello to White Fox and Rolling Water and Kyla over on Odysee. Always good to see you and the Odysee crowd over there. Always appreciate you checking out the channel on Odysee and of course Rumble. The Odysee crowd. Oop. Had a little feedback there. Sorry. And hello to anyone watching on Rumble. I don't see anyone in the chat at the moment, but shout out to all you. Welcome, welcome, welcome to this late night stream. Hey Jay, Beach, and anyone else who may be in the background. So, all right, let's. Oop, there we go. Okay, so really quickly, it's pretty important with this case. Why is my camera not working? Come on. Hold on a minute here. 1 minute, guys. Oh, there it is working. Okay. All right. That was strange. All right. So, all right. So just before we get started, I'm not sure how long I'm going to go tonight, but it might go a while depending on how much energy I have, but there's a few things. There's 2 different interviews with Heather here. The experiencer's name is Heather May. And in the interest of full disclosure, and if Heather's listening to this, or if, you know, again, I'm not judging or making any assumptions about her as a person or what have you. It's just that sometimes some red flags might appear, but at the same time I'm not 100% sure, but I feel confident that also that there's something there that might be an issue. So just to get, again, this is full disclosure, a citation, just to let y'all know. She first comes on and starts sharing her NDEs, and by all accounts, everything that she's sharing about her NDE seems very on point. I don't see really any issue with that. I've only looked at 2 interviews, but then I was also doing a little more digging, and I noticed that she went on to Jeff Mara's podcast, which, you know, he's been expanding the types of interviews he's done compared to what he's done in the past, and it's a little different now. But anyways, so Heather comes on, and she initially shared her NDE with him, like, I don't know, some weeks or months prior. But I think prior to even her going on the Jeff show, she had kind of been invited on a few other podcasts, and I ran across those. And so where I get a little concerned is her second interview with Jeff Mara. Okay. She's talking about aliens and crystal skulls and some stuff there that is a little, I'm not sure, right? I mean, she could be, having these dreams or having OBEs that are like intention driven and stuff like that. I don't know, but I've seen this before, and I am not at all saying that this is Heather. Seems like she went through absolute hell. She grew up in foster care and really had, some health issues that landed her in the hospital, including a car accident and like blood clots and stuff like that in the mid-90s. So I am not necessarily down in that. Everything seems pretty on the up and up, but one thing I'd also like to point out is she's done a few interviews, and if any of you want to go and investigate this further, I highly recommend it. At the same time, I think it's important to say that when you're going through experiencer cases, it's the worst thing you do is get like hung up on certain cases, right? And let it just take over. Like you'll waste more time diving in and going deep and listening to like all the interviews that an experiencer puts out. Not saying I haven't done it, because I have many times, but really I think when you're researching all of this, it's important to take in as many as possible so you do get to that point of that firm inner knowing, that unrelenting inner knowing, where you're able to kind of see through this. I mean, I think it took me probably longer than it would maybe take other people, but so like before I started even considering talking about the soul trap, I was wrestling with it for a few years and had to diverge off of a lot of stuff that I had learned, like all the standard ABC narratives that you see. And so what the system wants is for you and I and everybody listening to not see through the deception, right, that is involved with all this. And it plays itself out really well. Where I kind of take issue with part of Heather's story in the two different interviews that I've seen is in one interview she's talking about how she went to some crystal city, and that's something like that's popped up before. I've seen stuff like that in the past, so it's that in and of itself isn't really like a red flag or anything. It's just like because it's popped up and it's been in some regression stuff, so I mean it's there. And she even alludes to the kind of the Greek or Greco-Roman. She says pillars, but I hear pillars, and kind of the way she's talking, it gives you the kind of assumption that it might be the Greco-Roman stuff, which again is a common data point we've seen a lot. So, and then in another interview, she didn't talk about the whole Crystal City thing from what I recall, and that interview is close to 2 hours. So the first interview is about 45 minutes and change. Second interview is a little under 2 hours, like an hour and 50 minutes. And to the interviewer's credit, she wanted to get into more towards the end of the interview. She said, "Look, I want to have you back on and get into the more details, right?" And I don't recall seeing if that second interview has happened or not. But I don't know. I feel it's just a little off-putting for like a major detail like that to not be brought up. But at the same time, the person who was interviewing her in the long interview, on a little under 2 hours, was firing off all sorts of questions, and it was actually really good. I enjoyed it because she was asking a lot of great questions. But at the same time, I could see how that could possibly throw Heather off too. So I want to give her the benefit of the doubt on all of that. Where I kind of am a little is with the alien stuff, and I only got through part of that interview. I haven't even been able to finish all that. So in conclusion, keep an open mind, make up your own decision on all this, and again, like, you want to research more into her and her case and some of the things that she's been saying on various different channels. Feel free. Maybe there's some contradictions there that I didn't catch, or maybe, she's just doing her thing, and this experience did happen in the mid 90s, so I try to give her the benefit of the doubt there. But I think, leaving out some major details about an NDE like that's it's a little tough to wrap my head around. But, one more but, like I said before, the interviewer was, rapid fire interruptions and asking a lot of good questions. So even though, she was interrupting Heather, she was putting out a lot of good stuff and doing, asking a lot of great questions. Otherwise, I think someone who kind of comes online and shares their NDE or any experience, if they start going to a number of different shows and they're sharing the same story over and over again, at some point, it's good to have an interviewer out there who's going to insert and ask different questions, or maybe try to get more details about a certain part of the experience if the experiencer themselves actually remembers it, So anyways, again, just throwing it out there, keep it on your mind, and let's just get into this. We're going to see how far we can go. And thanks for stopping by. Hey, you. All right. Let me just get this up. Be one moment, guys. Just putting that up for timestamp purposes. And where the heck is... There it is. Okay. All right, so this is from Earth to the Other Side. Great channel by John Glasspool. And he's had a lot of great interviews. I highly recommend you check him out. His channel's, I think it's criminally too small, to be honest. So feel free to check out John. Earth to the Other Side.
Heather, welcome to the program. Nice to have you.
Thank you very much. It's fantastic to be here. Thank you.
Wonderful, wonderful. So let's start from the beginning and start with your first NDE in 1994.
My first NDE was from, I had a car accident, and there was a lot of complications after that. So to put it short, I ended up with 9 massive pulmonary emboli, which means I had 9 massive blood clots go through my lungs. Some got stuck in my heart, and consequently, I guess the very last large clot that went through died. I died because of it. From what I was told from the specialists and at the hospital, that they were the size of a loony. They were the biggest blood clots they had ever seen, and they couldn't believe that I was even alive. They said after they did the test, they came out to see me because they said, we just had to actually see you because we couldn't believe you were actually alive. So we've come out to see for ourselves. You're a really living person, and we've never seen anything like it. Of course, I was very, very ill, and I just kind of said, oh, yeah, I'm here. I didn't have much to say, as I was on a gurney, basically. Yeah, so that was what caused the NDE itself. I knew I was going to die. Unfortunately, I did know that. I had gone to see, before I guess I had the embolisms, I had gone to see 9 separate doctors because I had the most wicked Charlie horse. I was an avid cyclist. I cycled 10K every single day 6 days a week. So, I mean, thank God I was in really good shape. I probably wouldn't have survived it, right? So anyways, yeah, I had seen several doctors. This was after the car accident and everything, about my leg. And at the time, I was a news editor for a newspaper and went away on vacation. But before I went on vacation, I had said to the two last doctors I saw, I'm really concerned. By then, I even diagnosed myself. I said, I'm concerned that I have deep vein thrombosis because the Charlie horse has not subsided in 4 months. It just has gone on and on and on. And they said, look, you probably need a vacation. Why don't you just go and enjoy yourself? I said, but we're driving in a sports car. No, don't be silly, go. And I left that clinic, and early the next morning we were leaving. And I just felt, it's kind of like doom. It's when you're in an elevator or on a ride and it suddenly drops and you get that feeling in your gut. That's how I walked away with that. Just the feeling of doom in the pit of my stomach. So I got home and you know, the guy I was with at the time, we had just gotten engaged, and well, he was in the car accident with me originally, and he said, oh yeah, you're probably fine, you know, don't worry about it. We're just going to go. We're going to visit my grandparents in Penticton and that sort of thing, my grandparents. So we're driving, and I think it was by time we were in the car for about 7 hours, I said, hey, my Charlie horse is gone. Wow, that's great. You know what I mean? I just thought, oh, wow, that's great. Oh, I guess I was wrong. You know, okay, well, whatever, you know, let's seize the day, enjoy the day, right? Did have my young daughter with me at the time. And we had brought our bikes and everything because, like I said, you know, I was an avid cyclist. And we got to my grandparents, and I was feeling really tired, but I couldn't figure out why. So it wasn't, you know, something I was used to. Went to bed really early that night, got up the next morning to go cycling, and I couldn't keep up to my 6-year-old daughter. I wasn't somebody who liked to ruin anybody's good time. I was one of those young girls and young ladies, I guess, didn't want to be the center of anything, didn't want to let people know that I wasn't doing well. The next day we were leaving to drive to Langley, BC, which is where my dad lived. And we got there, and by this stage, I couldn't lean my back on anything. The pain was unbelievable. And it was at the dinner party where I couldn't eat. I wasn't drinking. I was just kind of sitting there like a lump and really confused with what was wrong. And it was after dinner, I got up and went and stood in front of the bathroom mirror. And I had looked at myself and I said, Heather, if you do not call for help and tell them you need help and you need an ambulance, you are going to die at this party. It was a powerful knowing. It was such a deep-seated knowing. It's very, very hard to explain when you really feel that your number's up, you know. And I did manage, I got out of the bathroom, kind of slid myself along the wall till I got into their living room. And I had said, I need an ambulance. Well, the music got turned down and they're all just looking at me. You know, I said, I need an ambulance. And my fiance at the time said, oh, no, I'll drive her to the hospital. And I said, you've never been here before. You don't know where the hospital is. And so they said to him, are you sure? Are you sure? Like, not just totally ignoring me, right? And so somehow they just kind of picked me up and stuffed me in the car. I remember the pain being so excruciating. I was confused because I was like right up to the dash of the car. And I can see really clear the intricate pattern of the leather of the dash And I couldn't understand why I was so close to it. That was very confusing to me. I was looking at it, didn't understand it. Then this darkness started to come. And it came very slowly like this, slow, 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 until eventually I'm looking out of a small hole, and that got smaller and smaller till it was a pinprick, and then it was complete blackness. It was like a blackness like you never have known before. You know, it's not like you just are maybe in a basement that has no windows or lights. It's darker than that even. And then I found myself, it was almost like being in animated suspension. It was like sort of floating. It was a very soft, gentle, and very peaceful place. I ended up calling it the void because I didn't really know what else to call it. There was no light there. It wasn't scary. It seemed really vast. And I just seemed like I was all alone. There was nobody else there, and but I wasn't freaked out and I wasn't afraid. And then way off in the distance.
So, hold on. Let her finish this.
And then way off in the distance, I could see it was like a tiny speck of light. So in that kind
Okay, so I think it's important to point out with these types of scenarios, it's the same thing, right? It's even in like a hellish like NDE, someone can be in a void like state, and if they're not comfortable with it, they can start overthinking things, or it could be because of their mindset that they're having a hellish like experience due to belief systems. And without fail, if they're in these types of situations, there is something there resembling the light in the distance, and it soothes them. It also is something that most will be curious about, or if they're having if it's not just like a straight, dare I say it, void experience, then they're they need that comfort, right? And I put forth on the channel for quite a few years now that I think the void state that everyone experiences is a manufactured void by the Matrix. It's not what you would call an authentic void-like state, like something maybe perhaps that you can apply your intention to create and be left alone. This is, I suspect, highly suspect, that this is on purpose. It's to perhaps give people like or not people, but true essence beings, like almost like a chance to think and reflect. But at the same time, the distraction is over in the distance or close by, and it lures them in. And in this case with Heather, she's an atheist, okay? No belief system, no spiritual kind of foundation, although I think she did, her family, I think she did go to Sunday school a little bit here and there or something like that. But she, at the end of the day, she went into this experience an atheist, and repeatedly tells us throughout this interview how she's, she didn't really know what happened. She didn't really have any firm sort of belief or footing, which in my opinion is probably the worst profile for someone to fall under while they're here, because what does that do? Like, if you don't have any sort of curiosity or spiritual foundation or something like that, then and you fall down like the materialistic, oh, I'm a bag of bones when I die type of thinking, then the Matrix is going to eat you alive when you leave. There's no doubt about it. It's open season, and we see that with Heather's experience. Not, it's not like she had negative experiences, really. It's just that obviously it's the deception factor comes in a big way.
The blackness, you can certainly notice a tiny speck. And I actually wanted to see if I could see my hand. So I had put obviously on an energetic hand in front of my face. Of course, I couldn't see that. I couldn't see anything. And I just thought, well, I'll just kind of wait because I don't know what else to do. I can't move. I can't swim. I can't flee. I can't do anything. And that light, that speck got bigger and bigger and closer. And so I was just watching it with, I don't know, kind of surprise, amazement, curiosity. Oh, what is that? And as it got closer and closer, and then it was sort of above me, but, not right above me. And I'm looking at it and I said, oh, that kind of looks like a tunnel. That's so weird. And it was different tones of grays, swirling. It had some, I don't know, sparkly somethings in there because I could see it as it was swirling. And it was like a colander. It went narrow at the bottom and big as far as the eye could see. And next thing I knew, I was in it. Also, to say I had zero belief in God, Jesus, any religious anythings.
See, that's really, really important. Really important. And other atheists have said the same thing, zero belief, God, this, that. Basically, again, they believe that they're going to be, it's just miraculously they ended up here and they're a bag of bones when they die and that's it. And so that is feasting ground for the Matrix if there ever was one. And that should also have us all questioning why this type of materialistic view on things is so rampant in our incarnation today. Of course, there's still all these religions, right? All these different spiritual practices, because the Matrix knows damn well that not everyone's going to be able to be convinced by the, material, you're here just by some weird chance and boom, you die, you're done, and that's all there is to it. So it has to have backup plans, many backup plans. And obviously religions are part of that.
As I was going along and slowly going up, you have no control whatsoever. And I thought, this can't be. And I even recall stretching out to see if I could touch the sides, and it expanded. And when it did that, so I couldn't touch the sides, that's when I became afraid. And I became afraid because I didn't know what was happening. And I had absolutely zero control of the situation. Zero control, which didn't make me feel very comfortable.
Well, she's not going to have control because doesn't have a belief system. She doesn't have any sort of foundation to bank herself on. So I heard her admit, I don't know if it was in this interview, she might say it shortly, or if it was in the other one, where she was curious, right? She was curious to what is that? What's going on over there? What is that light in the distance? Or what am I, I want to, nothing else is going on here in the void. Let me go check that out. Well, what are you doing? You're putting your intention out there. You don't have any sort of foundational footing that of anything related to the afterlife, and it's just open season. The Matrix is just raring and ready to go to take someone like that. And of course that applies to anyone who is also allowing themselves to just hand themselves over to the Matrix on a platter through, Jesus or Muhammad or Buddha or God or any of these different deities, these angels, and up to including family, friends, pets who may come and try and take you on your deathbed to the light. All these different types of things, right? like weeding through this place and seeing it for the illusion and deception that it is takes time. Probably takes many lifetimes too. I don't know. Maybe some figure it out sooner than others. But the point is I think it takes a while. And seeing through the BS is not easy. And knowing that you can stand up for yourself, right? That you can apply your intention and sovereignty and want to achieve full liberation away from the overarching matrix system to a realm of your own creation. That's not something I think just comes easily. I think it takes a lot of pain and suffering and a lot of repeated incarnations to get to that point. Maybe not always, like I said, but I think in many cases, that's probably what it is. We've probably all been here a very long time if we're all here together talking about this and clearly seeing through it.
I did look up, and it was just like the vastness of this tunnel was just what was there. And as I was looking and traveling upwards and saying, stop, I want this to stop. Not that I'm talking to anybody. I just felt like I was screaming that in my head. I don't know what's happening. I don't know what's going on. Like, I don't want to be here. I was saying all these things. And then it seemed all of a sudden there was, I guess I'm at the top of it. And there seemed to be this, again, it was that blinding white light. And I could see way in the distance was a large group of people. So if you can imagine going to a football game and you know how bright those lights are, take all those lights and put them at ground level and then have people walk towards you. So first you don't see them, then you see outlines, just dark outlines. You can't seem to make out what's happening other than people are coming towards you, which scared me, and they got closer and closer. I realized that there was actually hundreds. It was a massive amount of people, which scared me even more. I remember even telling them to back off until I realized as they got closer that it was my great-grandmother, my Aunt Alice, my Uncle Dick, my great-grandfather. So in the front, just a small...
Okay, so this is the welcoming committee. How many times have we seen this, right? I mean, the welcoming committee comes out, and it's kind of interesting, right? Because sometimes you do get these cases where a lot of the deceased family members are rolled out, right? And then there's other times where you maybe get one or two or three, maybe like one or two, really, or maybe like a pet or something like that. But I find it interesting considering her belief system, right? That the Matrix just rolls out like the whole freaking deceased family lineage at one point. And there was a lot of other quote unquote people that were there too. Probably many that she didn't necessarily know from this most recent incarnation that she's coming from. But we don't really get any added context on that. So I don't want to put words in her mouth, but if I had to guess, there's more than meets the eye with who is in attendance. And it really is the Matrix welcoming committee just, rolling out the family and getting her to say, hey, whoa, wait a minute. They're all dead. They're my deceased loved ones, my family, love them. And, well, okay. Why are they here? What am I doing with all this? It's maybe starts to kind of ring a bell. When I first started this really quickly, and then I'm going to move on. When I first started listening to Heather and hadn't listened to the other interview, I was thinking, wow, she probably is new here, right? It's something that just told me like, oh, maybe she's like really new here, because it's very rare to hear someone say that, that like even when they're going down the tunnel into the light, it's very rare to hear someone not say, oh, well, this is familiar. Oh, I know what, I know what the light, or even when they're at the light, or even when they see the deceased family members, like they often, almost, not even often, it's like a high percentage of people will, or, true essence beings will say, oh, like this felt like home. This is very familiar to me. I know this. I know what's going on here. I've been here before. And you didn't get that with Heather. Then you start thinking, and we can rewind back to what I was saying earlier, how if you have this kind of atheist materialistic belief system, it tends to make a lot more sense because she's so clouded in her judgment. She needs like this probably constant readjusting to get familiarized with this stuff again. But I could have sworn at the beginning she may have like just had maybe only a few incarnations under her belt. But according to Heather, that might not be the case.
All piece of the front, I recognized people from my lifetime from when I was a child, right? Other people I didn't recognize. I didn't know why they were there or who they were. And then my great-grandmother stepped forward and she had said to me, Heather, you have died. And I was dumbfounded with that because I really honestly didn't know what was going on. And I said, I had screamed by then. Everything's telepathy. So I'm screaming in my head, no, this can't be. I didn't even get a chance to finish anything. I didn't get to even start anything. I don't even know why I'm saying these things. Start what? Finish what? Don't know. She was trying to console me. The love from her, the group, and even the energy, once I stopped flipping out, because I was having a freak out, was when I had paused long enough to recognize that, right? So it was like, oh yeah, I do feel that. I do really feel loved, and I do feel, okay, I'm accepted, but I still don't want to be here. I don't want to be here. And
sounds like Earth to me.
And then there was, and it was behind me, sort of. I was kind of facing the group this way. And it was a different light. It was a white light, but it had a little bit of gold in it. And it was just a voice. And sorry, I was told, you're going to be okay. Sorry, I don't know. I always do this, so I find it brings up a lot of emotion. And to come with me. I didn't have to walk or anything. I was just being shown things. So I was shown galaxies. I was shown other worlds. I then was also taken, I was shown a lot of things, information that I didn't understand. So if you take your cell phone and you flip really fast, that's how fast I was being shown things. I was given all this information that at the time I understood it, but after it was really an evolution of understanding. It has taken me a very long time to understand a lot of the things I was shown, including different levels of heaven, contracts, agreements, the cosmic board. I was also shown that.
I mean, that's loaded right there. Different heavens, which we can say what are different types of astral realms, right? That are part of the matrix system. And we've kind of talked about this before, how they can perhaps manipulate different belief systems based on your region, right? And your religious belief. So, maybe you have a Hindu belief, a Buddhist belief, a Muslim belief, a Christian belief, whatever, right? It would make sense. And in my opinion, it's proven based on the data patterns that there are customized kind of quote unquote levels or heavens or hells, for just to use regular terms that we can all kind of agree on, right? And so those things, because they are customized, someone's going to experience something different, A, based on belief system, and B, based on usually region, because depending on what region you grow up in, there's going to be a certain belief system that you have, and so you're going to have an experience based on those specific kind of upbringings and belief systems that you've carried on throughout your whole life. Even if there's like we've seen this a lot, especially like with the Western cases, how I'm sorry, I'm having a mind blank here, but you have a belief system and it's kind of zoning in on whatever that is, right? And it could be a belief in Jesus, and then you can go over and have something like a Muslim experience in Afghanistan or something, or Iraq, and you might run into Allah, and and a lot of those, I wish I could really cover a lot of like the other experiencer cases across the pond and over on to the east and stuff, but the problem is the language barrier. Like, you can find tons of these cases online and you can read them, but finding them and getting them translated, it's not always easy, but some of them are out there. And so I highly recommend for anyone who's like doubting the data patterns that there's any kind of difference in what's occurring from the West compared to the East. It's the same stuff going on. It's just customized to the individual based on belief system. That's it. Just like we see here in the West with all these other cases, right? Depending on what you subscribe to is what the customization is going to call for. And it's no different anywhere around the world, including, maybe, even tribes, right? Even Native American tribes have different, here in the United States and Canada, they have different experiences because they believe different things, and they may see chief elders or something, some sort of deity, but there's still going to be like a tunnel and a light or a void and then a light in the distance, or they're going to have to go through all these different things in order to get to the light eventually. And I mean, it goes on and on and on, but it's the same set of protocols and like functionality within the matrix that continues to happen. And everyone listening who's maybe new or otherwise on the fence should ask yourself, why is that? Why is it customized like that? And even like, you can say, well, it's different. It's not different. Just because the deity that's presenting itself, or the elder, or the deceased loved one, there's a little bit of difference there. It's the only difference is who you've been customized to believe in and be with, or have been with in your lifetime. Not the going down the tunnel, going to the light, having a light for you. Not going in the void, seeing the light in the distance, or having a hellish experience in the void and then being saved by the light, or being saved by some sort of altar figure that has a light embedded in it that's like going to reach and try and help you and pull you out of this mess that might be hellish or not. Point is all this stuff it's uniformed. It's way too precise to ignore. And that's why I say, everybody go out, do your own research. I promise you're going to see the same thing. You just, if you're new, otherwise on the fence, take the next couple of years. Just consume as many of these experiencer cases you can, and not just NDEs. If you look at the introduction video to my channel, I put a list there. and it really helps to give you an idea as to how deep this stuff goes and how things cross over. And I will be doing an update on that soon. I've been meaning to do that for a couple of years now, but yeah, I think the data really speaks for itself and presents us a clear blueprint of what's happening here.
Past lifetimes, and where my mother was, we were together, but it was in a reversal role, or maybe we were both sisters in another lifetime, or maybe we were a covenant of sisters and, way far back in, I don't know, 11th century, things like that. Shown a lot of different things, but it was very, very, very quick. And then I was brought into, I can only describe it as a place where I did my life review, but if you can imagine the ceiling, the walls, the floor, everything was the life review. Every part of one's senses was part of the life review. My entire senses were a living life review. One example I can give is when you even think a thought of another person, it gets immediately picked up by that person, because thoughts are energy and we're all connected energetically. We're all connected, and we're all a part of the group consciousness, and we're all part of the divine universal consciousness as well. And so...
Okay, I'm sorry to interrupt it there, but I think it's an important part. Like how, we've heard other experiencers say this, and I can't put a percentage on it, but there's a decent amount out there who have kind of implied or said directly the same thing, how your thoughts, your kind of intention towards someone has some sort of effect on them. Now, I kind of believe that, and I don't, because you can have the realm's worst person on earth, and they could do horrible, horrible things, and you can send all this intention, like, oh, I hope this, this person, whatever, think of horrible things, right? Even like if you're thinking like in terms of, the parasitic power structure, right? Imagine how many people out there are sending that type of intention in that direction. There's got to be a lot. Okay. And so maybe what it does is kind of degrade the individual, possibly. But I'm not as necessarily sold on that, because who knows, right? I think in some cases, if someone's kind of, for lack of a better word, the shielding of themselves is kind of like deteriorated and not capable of, how do I put this? If they're not strong within themselves about either the horrible or the good stuff that they do, perhaps exterior forces can work against them. Kind of like how you hear about people being hexed and all that stuff, right? I think some of that's real to a certain extent, and then other stuff, it's like depending on how the person conducts themselves and maybe what they're aware of, that these types of things do exist and that you can protect yourself from those types of things, and be aware. I think there's a lot of value in that. Now, how does that kind of work in the whole grand scheme of things in relation to your life and your life script with the other individual, or maybe in an individual that you don't even know, like the parasitic freaking class? Who knows, right? But I think when you kind of boil all that down, because this narrative has been talked about before, it seems like almost like a setup in the life script. You get what I'm saying? It really does, because it's something that has popped up, like, on the regular. Again, I can't put a percentage on it, but let's just throw out like 50%, 40%, even 30%, right? That's a lot of people who are talking about that and coming back and sharing the information with us that this could have, that this has some sort of impact, like that you should feel guilty about sending bad vibes to someone who's done you dirty, right? Regardless of whether you know them or not. Seems like a setup. I don't know, right? I mean, just throwing it out there. This is just opinion, right? I'm not saying for certain on any of it, but it just seems dirty. It seems something's off. But I don't know. Just my opinion, my friend. So don't take this like as anything that to lay your hat on.
This girl, her and I used to fight all the time as little kids, grade school kids. And we would like each other and then not like each other. And so I had thought a nasty thought about her, but she had picked it up immediately. And how she then absorbed that and how it made her think about herself in a negative way, in a hurtful way. And then where she placed that within her body, because then it was an expressed thought, but how she bought into it, and accepted that as part of a false belief structure as to who she was. And then how that manifests later on in life. So it was really quite extreme with what she did with that one thought. And, never mind words. Words all have energy. They all have a different frequency. And when we talk, it is also on an energetic level as the words, syllables, everything echoes and, comes out of our mouths, right, as an audio, but it's also energetic. And so people pick up on that first, believe it or not. It's first. It's subconscious though, but it's first. And then they hear the words. And how that affects them as well. I was shown some hurtful things that I did, as a child with other children. And I was also shown as a teenager and young adult, things that really helped somebody out that I never thought for a second that it even warranted any form of acknowledgement. So I was really surprised with that. It seems that absolutely everything, it's almost like it's recorded. Absolutely everything, all, mundane things and whatnot,
It is recorded. It is.
I found that really.
It's 100% recorded. Everything is recorded. We've talked about this probably a couple hundred times on the channel. Every single moment of every single day from cradle to grave is recorded. The life review proves that. It proves it hands down that this is what's going on. And that information is then used against you through some sort of mechanism at the light or during the life review, right? It's clear as day. Like, so that is 100% fact. And then we have many people out there who have NDEs. They go and have a life review and they will say time and time and time again, like, there was no judgment and it was this, I was judging myself, over and over and over and over again until the cows come home. We hear that same narrative. But what is the system that's initiating that? Why is it so prevalent? Why is it's massive data point. This isn't like a, small little nothing like an opinion. It's a fact. It's happening. So if it's happening, yet we have NDEers coming back and saying, oh, well, I was judging myself. Like, whatever it was wasn't judging me, but yet there was a full accounting of your life from cradle to grave, or cradle to the point where you had your NDE and certain information was used against you in some judgmental form, even though the experiencer is saying, oh, I'm judging myself. Makes no sense. Why is it so consistent? Why is it happening so on the regular in the life review? You can't discount it. You just can't. So it really points to only one conclusion. And again, this, in my strong opinion, this is a fact. Because everything is recorded from cradle to grave, from the smallest good deed to the smallest bad deed, to the biggest good deed and the biggest bad deed, or whatever the case may be, all of it's recorded. And then there's like this kind of a mix of emotions. And then when you have that experience in a life review, you actually live in the moment. And she's going to talk about this, just like all the other NDEs have talked about. And you live in the moment as if you were experiencing what they experienced, good or bad. It's clear that this is a program. This is a verified, 100% factual program that's running in the realm that we are currently involved with. So again, it begs the question, okay, why is the whole judgment, sinning, all this stuff, karma, all this is just put out there in the earth realm? Why is that? Is that to get everyone to kind of sign on and say, oh, well, I better not do this, or I better not do this? Yeah, I mean, that would be great if the world wasn't such a shit heap. But at the same time, are you going to feel guilty about, stealing, your buddy's chocolate bar when you were in 4th grade? And that type of thing could come up. We've seen some really petty, weird shit in some of these cases, right? That the Matrix uses. And then on the flip side of things, with the good stuff, like the good things you do, this is the weird part, right? We see time and time again how like the thing, the smallest thing, the stupidest thing is like looked upon as like this amazing feat. Like, oh my God, remember the day when, you were walking down Main Street and the little old lady dropped a quarter out of her purse and you ran across the street and gave the old lady her quarter because it fell out of her purse? Oh no. And experiencers will tell you this over and over and over and over again, that I wouldn't even think that something like that mattered. Whatever it was, it's something mundane and stupid and silly. And yet this is like the glorification moment of someone's life in this freaking, in what, 60, 70, 80, 90 years of life. This is like the, you standing on a mountain and being, like a fucking saint. You kidding me? I mean, and we see it over and over and over again. This isn't coincidence, my friends. It proves how insane and stupid this whole thing is, and it proves that there's clearly some sort of algorithm, some sort of system, some sort of recording device that is involved with all this, and it customizes a specific experience to you to make sure that you are compliant and believe in what it's selling, so that it can get you and I and everybody here back for another spin. Memory wipe, rinse and repeat. Memory wipe, rinse and repeat. That's how this whole system works, and it does a damn good job at it. But it's time to start calling out the bullshit, because it's so clear, crystal clear, what's going on. There's certain things if I have an opinion on something, I'll say it. And a lot of what I talk about, I can't prove everything, but I think the data patterns speak for themselves. Because when you're talking like 90, 95 percentile on certain things that are showing themselves over and over and over again, I think you got a pretty damn good idea what's going on. And then you combine it with regular life experience, observation about what the hell's going on here, and the insanity, the toxic insanity that goes on. Not to say that there's not a lot of good that happens, because there is. But how the parasitical class seems to always have an upper hand and be able to just stomp on humanity's face and keep everybody in line, because everybody's asleep. Everybody is under the spell. And the reason for that is the poor design of the human meat suit. So, see, things start to connect. Things make way too much sense when you start to look at this whole picture through the lens of one big fat deception and a soul trap. It makes too much sense. Why is the human body so horribly designed? Why is it designed for brainwashing? Why is it designed for compliance and relinquishing sovereignty? Why is it designed for groupthink and division? These things are not small questions. These are major questions. And they go to the greater theory, and in my opinion, fact, that something's really rotten here. And it makes sense when you look at this realm through the lens of some sort of deceptive soul trap. So, if you're new, otherwise on the fence, hang in there, my friends, do your thing. And there's a whole back catalog to get familiar with if you're interested.
Really interesting. Then they wanted to show me, I call it they, because it's just, they're light. They're just pure light. Wanted to show me exactly how energy works within the body, the human body. And it was quite the education, actually, with regards to the energetic vibration of blood, the energetic vibration of cells and how they move. And now how do cells move when it's a negative experience? And how do the cellular makeup move when it's a positive experience? It was like taking some massive class, but it was done very quickly, it seemed. You know, it was, at any rate, the reason why they were showing me all that was because it was one of the things that I was supposed to be here doing, and I wasn't doing in this lifetime. I was told that I wasn't to come back, was not to come back. I wanted to come back, and it felt like a negotiation to come back. Not that it really was, but it felt that way in a sense.
Oh, trust me, it wasn't. Trust me. I guarantee with utter certainty it was not a negotiation. They trick everybody. If your meat suit is not ready to go, then what they do is play this game, right? They play this game, they try and lure you in with your children or your parents or your pets or something, right? They try to pretend and make this big production. And then they say, oh, it's not your time yet. Or like, you still have work to do back on Earth, and blah, 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 blah. We hear the same thing over and over, right? Some people, like, we wouldn't be hearing their stories if their life script didn't dictate that they were not meant to come back yet. We wouldn't hear it. Thankfully, there's so many that do, and we live in a modern time where we have access to all this information and can actually build data points on these things. But at the end, if your life script doesn't dictate that you are supposed to go, well, that's it, right? You're supposed to go when you're supposed to go. And they'll give you this illusion of like, oh, they'll drag you along. They'll put on the big production and like, you can meet the family and have the life review and maybe even go and visit a few realms and this and that. Well, in the meantime, they're working on your body down on Earth to make sure that, everything is at least you can survive in it or something, right? They just need to adjust it and make sure everything's ready to go. And then when it's ready, they'll start doing whatever they do to try and convince you to get back down there. If you're not meant to go, you're not meant to go. And then the other thing that they'll do is, because you took, sometimes they'll be like, oh, well, you took on such a big workload. Like, why did you take on such a big workload in this incarnation? We told you that it was going to be too much. What are you doing? Right? I mean, so then they kind of like, guilt trip you. Like, see, we told you, we were looking out for you. Like there's some fucking, excuse my language, I'm sorry. Like there's some like, like noble entity that's like really looking out for you. It's all BS, right? And they're just trying to, kill time or make sure that the conditions are ideal by the time that they are ready to try and get you back down there. That's it. If you're meant to go back, you're meant to go back. And the mission thing is the biggest part of the scam. I have a mission to complete. Okay. And the other thing is like, I didn't complete this or I wasn't able to get this done. So I might as well go back to Earth because I can finish those things up instead of cutting this whole thing short. And then what happens? You end up, going back, living your life, doing whatever you do, and almost every time, without fail, anyone who's experiencing life when they come back, they'll say that they don't even know what the hell their mission is. They don't know what their mission is. So after all that, they come back, their memory wiped. They have fragmented memories of their experience, of course. Usually like the key things like the friends, the family, or the pets or something like that. Or maybe even meeting Jesus or God or Muhammad or whoever, right? Buddha, whatever, right? But they come back and it's like, I was learning all this stuff while I was there. It was incredible. I had the answers to the universe. I knew the things that I had to go do when I had come back and it's all gone. We see that over and over and over again. If that isn't a big red flag for everybody, I don't know what is. And we see it constantly. It's like how much evidence do you need to throw on the pile of, steaming hot evidence than that? I mean, it just goes on and on and on. Like I can't even think of a list that makes sense to justify what's happening here and how the system relates to the astral with all of this other stuff. It defies logic in every sense of the word because this place doesn't make sense. This place contradicts what the other place is selling, aka the astral realm. None of it lines up. None of it complements one another and says, that makes sense. Yeah, I get that. Okay. Now I know why I'm here and this, that. No. It's like it's almost like, MS-DOS back in the freaking late 80s or something saying, we're going to put a few lines of code here. It's like they got lazy or something when they were working out the code for, trying to keep some sort of linking of like covering up the deception that goes on Earth in relation to the astral. It's like they really fell short there. But the problem is nobody questions shit, right? There's so few of us questioning this stuff, except, of course, the controlled opposition and the government coming in and stomping all over this topic. Hi, guys. Anyways, it's just, it's fucking crazy. It blows my mind. I can go on and on. I'm sorry. We'll continue.
That I had promised that I would come back, I would do the work that I'm to do for myself, on myself, and then go out and share that and help people as well. Apparently that was my journey, that I somehow, I guess, I don't really know how, I was just told I was far away from what I had come here to do. And I had a lot of things that I didn't want to look at to do with family history, you know, multi-generational trauma, things like that, that I don't have time for that, because you see, I'm doing this in life and I just want to do well. I want to do well, financially well, materialistically well. I wanted to do well. And I thought that was one of the most important things. And this had shown me that it actually wasn't. And so when I was talking with them, the energies, that I did want to come back, and that I promise that I will do the work and everything that they had shown, and heal myself and then go out and heal others. And they said, well, she, the light, this is the different light though, it was the white with a bit of gold in it, had said, okay, you can choose to go back, but you must know this. It is going to be very, very hard physically, because I had damage, right? And it's going to be very difficult because you have a lot of healing to do. I had healing on all levels to do. Physically, there's things that I couldn't heal, you know, but I've managed to do pretty good. And so anyways, with that, it's very condensed. Yeah, I figure you'll ask me questions. I came back into my body, like slam, experiencing all that pain again and everything else, and hooked up to machines and these doctors telling me I'm a miracle, you're a miracle, you're a miracle. And I'm just kind of looking at them thinking, and I've got a secret. I've got a secret. And I didn't think so much about the miracle. It's like, wow, I've got a secret, you know? So anyways, after that, I was in the hospital for about a month. And of course, I mean, they couldn't hold my job or anything. And the prognosis wasn't great, you know, for ever working, ever managing. They expected me to be in a wheelchair. They expected my legs to be amputated. They expected me to be having a pacemaker. They expected me to be on full-time oxygen. It was kind of bleak, you know, but I thought, I'm going to prove them wrong. And so I did.
What an experience. But that's your first.
Okay, just before we continue, I want to give a big thank you to Seth Rakes. I apologize for the delay in responding. He's been a member for 19 months. Thank you, brother. I appreciate that. Says, question for the Love and Lighters. If karmic debt is legit, why don't we get some sort of progress bar to verify how much we have left to pay off? Excellent question. Excellent question, right? I mean, it's absurd. It's totally absurd. And the memory wipe proves it all. I mean, really, we've talked about that so many times. Like, the nail in the coffin for all of this is the memory wipe. There's nobody on earth who can justify it. Nobody. You cannot sit here and say that when the data is showing you over and over and over again that what the astral realm is selling through regressions and all these different types of experiencer cases, that, you know, we're here to learn and grow and evolve spiritually and all that stuff. And then on the flip side, you have reincarnation happening over and over and over again. And then you have the memory wipe in between all this going in between each incarnation. Are you kidding me? It lacks any sense of logic whatsoever. It doesn't make sense. And nobody can justify it. Nobody. Anyone who is able to come in and rationalize that when there's actually hardcore evidence to show that, yes, the astral realm, the matrix astral realm, in combination with Earth, they work together. They're one and the same, two different states of being, and they're selling that this whole thing is a learning experience and that we're supposed to learn and grow and evolve and blah, 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 blah. And that's being sold over and over and over again in the astral. That's linked to Earth. And then you come here as a baby, you get memory wiped. You may have some memories early on in your childhood. You may even have some pre-birth memories. You may even have some of that, right? Interactions. But what are you getting? A very minute part of the story about your existence in relation to not just here, but the information outside of whatever you were doing, whatever we were doing, outside of this entire system, not just Earth, but the entire overarching matrix system. That information is non-existent. It's not there. We can all sit here and talk till the cows come home. There is no data point out there that says, oh, this one has memories of doing this and that before they got here and blah, 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 blah. No. All that information, it's like what happens is like we are under the constant state of amnesia. And once we kind of start cycling and cycling and cycling, we forget and lose who and what we are. And that's that we are all creator beings, and we can apply and use our attention for a sovereign existence that is free of this type of parasitical insanity, not just on Earth, but in the astral. That's it. And the beauty is you can leave your body and go and see your intention live in action. You can do this, might take some time. I'm not the best at it, but I've experienced it enough where I know you can will things in and out of existence. You can have some creepy or weird looking thing or weird sort of surroundings or something, and you could stop it like that. Why is that? And just to kind of compound on top of everything, if you had no say in your destiny and that you weren't a creator being, why would they put so much effort into this place? Why would they put so much time and effort into convincing you and me and everybody here that they need to have their sovereignty squashed and stomped on? And then why does everything have to be recorded and then used? And why do belief systems learned here play such a big role when you die? Because they just it's like a conveyor belt. Everything is about getting you to buy into the scam over and over and over again. And eventually you reach a specific point in a specific lifetime where you say, hey, whoa, something's not right. And perhaps it still may take you a little more time. It may take you a few more lifetimes. That's what I think happened to me, given some of my past lives. I fully believe that. I feel like I kept getting close and close and close, and but it was just short, right? Just short enough to end up having to come back here and do this all over again. But what happens is our essence creeps through to the point where you can see through this place for what it is. It has nothing to do with a great awakening or this or that. No, it's you and you alone. Are you asking the big questions? Because most people aren't. Most out there are not asking the big questions. Most are not willing to set time aside in their day to actually learn and examine and see through the BS of what's happening here. Not just on like a, pop culture, political, or, any any sort of level that's just ABC distraction, religious area, right, of the Matrix. None of that stuff, right? It's like you do have to kind of go through an evolution with you and your essence while you're here to kind of decode those things. At least I did. Some people maybe jump the line and they kind of somehow just end up seeing past all that stuff quickly. I mean, there are some of you out there, and hey, tip my hat to anyone who's done that. Major props to you. But I think probably the bulk of us had to, really get deep in the weeds to see through this bullshit and call it out for what it was. Because it involves not just seeing through what's happening here, but also what's going on in the astral. And that's where the beauty of experiencer cases and experiencer types come in, because they create a crystal clear picture as to how this whole thing functions and is able to pull off what it pulls off against each and every one of us. And it just depends on which lifetime, which life script, which situation you've decided to incarnate in, and for what reason, for you to maximize your chances of seeing through it. And I think all of us are here for a reason in this specific incarnation at this specific time, and have access to all this information, because having what we have today just paints a crystal clear canvas of the mechanics of everything. It just exposes it in a huge way. Okay, I'm just going to say one more thing, right? And I've talked about this more recently, but I think it really is important. The amount of controlled ops and clowns that are kind of coming into all this, and really, in my opinion, just tarnishing any of the work that's been put to kind of just say, hey, let's ask questions together, let's look at this together. It's like, it's just like everything the Matrix does, right? It's like it divides people into factions, and oh, this one does this one does that, and this one said this and this one said that, and it's petty, stupid, parasitic bullshit, right? And what's interesting is what does this whole system not want from you or me or anyone? It's to realize that you can and will have a sovereign existence. It has to do everything in its power to try and draw you away from that by, question this one little thing or question this one thing. Oh, well, what about all the rest, right? You don't have to agree with me on everything. You don't have to agree with me, anybody else on everything, right? I think the whole point is we all eventually get to a certain part of the timeline in our existence where we question things, and anything that goes against the narrative there's going to be a fight that ensues by the system, especially if it involves you taking control of you and empowering you. So anyways, I'll shut up. That's kind of the crap going on out there with this topic is unbelievable.
And so I did.
What an experience. But that's your first NDE, right? You had another one?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, I have some questions about this one, though. Thank you for sharing that, by the way.
Yeah.
So you said that you had this, feeling of knowing, this very strong feeling of knowing at one point that you were going to die, which is, as you mentioned, very intense. So what were some of the things that were, if you recall, going through your mind at that time before the whole experience happened?
Oh, I can easily tell you what was going on. I remember every aspect of this. What was going through my mind was after I had asked for an ambulance and nobody was going to give me an ambulance. My thought was, You are going to die. And I actually had just accepted that. It was the strangest level of acceptance. Even when I knew I was in the process of dying, because it comes over you, this powerful knowing, you can't miss it, that you are going to die, or you are dying, and you surrender. There's nothing you can do. And when you just know there's nothing you can do. I just knew there was nothing I could do. I couldn't stop it.
And at what point did you realize you were actually dead? Was it just when you finally saw the faces of your aunt and grandmother or great-grandmother and that, or was it before that?
I was in such incredible level of denial because I just didn't have any belief structure. I didn't know what was going on. Seriously, I had absolutely no idea. When my great-grandmother had told me I was dead, it really brought it together for me. I remember her, we were very, very tight, very close when I was little. She passed away when I was 5.
Roll out the great-grandmother.
And it's kind of like I knew it, but I didn't want to know it all through the transitioning. I didn't really want to know it. I didn't really want to accept it. I was stubborn as a mule, really stubborn person, so it was at that point when she had told me, which is why it was the no, it can't be. Wherever I was, and I can't really tell you where I was because it was just all light, but it's like I did fall to my knees, I really did fall to my knees, cradling my face in my hands. It was at that moment of time I really had accepted that I was dead. Definitely. Yeah.
So when you fell to your knees, did you feel any of the space, or was it just still like a floating feeling? Yeah.
It just seemed that there was no real space as what we know it, that this is the floor, No, it seemed everything was just soft. Because if you fell to your floor, to the floor, and your knees would hurt, but it was just, no, it wasn't. Everything was just smooth and soft and comfortable. And there was no real floor to be looking at because everything was literally light. But it was a different type of light. It's like we see the light, the light bulbs are on or whatever, but it's like a living light. It moves, it shimmers, there's dimensions to it. There's different tones to it.
Okay, so one of the things we've talked about before too is, and this is again, pure opinion. I'm not backing it up with anything except that we hear kind of certain narratives like this. For instance, like you can, if I had to guess what the light was, I think it's a combination of technology and true essence beings who have been hoodwinked into thinking that what they're doing is on the up and up, that they're doing a good thing by helping others, calm their nerves, soothe them, pump out the love bomb. And there's some sort of like, again, this is opinion. It sounds crazy, but like some sort of algorithmic type combination of true essence beings and a program, right? Where it's like, just imagine like a bunch of true essence beings. It sounds whacked, right? Just imagine a bunch of true essence beings involved in the light and projecting a certain kind of frequency onto somebody as they're coming through, as they die, right? Or as they're having an NDE. And having some sort of manipulation sway because it's so overpowering. That's kind of like what I think's going on. I don't know, but that's that's kind of the direction that it seems to be happening. I don't know. There's something. This isn't just one being. This isn't just like some supercomputer. Like there's more to it. Like there's something else that's like heavily involved, like on a big scale, that I feel is way beyond any one individual or one true essence being, regardless of whether they're parasitic or not. Right? I think it goes. There's a whole system at play here, and it tries to maximize and make sure that as many other true essence beings that come across it are going to be convinced and just blindly accept what it's selling. Again, just opinion. I don't know, but that it seems to point in that direction. I'd be curious what anyone thinks in the chat, or if you're watching the replay, leave a comment. I'm really curious what anyone else thinks about that, because I don't know, just my gut tells me that's probably what's going on. Who knows?
Yeah, it's very interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, and what you described as the void, I mean, I've heard many talk about this void. But you said that you didn't have any fear or anything like that, but did you have any other emotions that were within that void? Because I often, hear about how the void isn't really void of anything. It's filled with so many things. Did you have any sort of experience like that as well, or?
No, I just felt comfortable. I felt like I was suspended in some level of comfort, even though it was very black. Except for that spark of light. But otherwise it was very black, and I was just curious with that level of blackness. Just curious, and it was just very comfortable. I really felt at complete peace. Just kind of like you're hanging out, like you're almost like you're floating in water. You're floating at the lake or something. It was.
I found that interesting, right? She said, of all the words she can use, it feels like you're almost floating on a lake or on water or something. Here we go with the water connection again, right? Water over and over and over again. And Lethe's water, the water of forgetfulness, like we see this over and over and over again. The symbolism just runs deep, not just here on Earth, but like in the astral. Like it can't be ignored. It's a major data point. Major.
Just very calm and peaceful and rhythmic.
When you passed your hand in front of your face and you didn't see anything, did you feel anything, or did it just...
It didn't feel like anything. I was quite surprised by it. But at the same time, again, I had zero concerns. Absolute zero concerns. I can't even say I was waiting for something to happen. I was just curious with what this place was, and I just continued to look around to see if I could see absolutely anything until I found the spark. And then I just kind of watched the spark in amazement, and now it's coming closer. Oh, isn't that interesting? Really, that's all it was for me. Yeah.
But before you had seen your relatives and came to that realization, you'd heard, right, this voice of whether it was God or Jesus or someone up there, right? Mm-hmm. Where did you think you were at that point?
I had no idea. I absolutely had no idea.
Think maybe you were dreaming or something, or?
No, because there's a dream. When you dream, that's one thing, and we know we're dreaming. But this is more real than me sitting here talking to you. It's beyond realism. It's well beyond it. All your senses are extraordinarily heightened. Sight and just, sound. Just to even see that energy, it's not just a solid white. there's depth to it, there's movement to it, there's different frequencies within it as well. Everything is just heightened, and no, I had no idea where I was at all, because I remember being a little kid, you know, when kids are about 5, 6, 7, and you know, they start getting interested in you know, is there a God or Jesus or anything like that. I remembered asking my mom and dad, and they said, no, there's no such thing, don't be ridiculous. And I said, well, what happens when we die? Because I had a cat that died. And they said, no, you go on the ground and that's the end of it. Oh, so that's the belief structure I had. That was it. I didn't have anything else, you know, so I really had no idea what was happening.
Eventually you were presented with other worlds and things like that. Did you remember any details of these worlds that you were shown? Yeah? Can you share?
Yeah, especially the Crystal City.
Crystal City. Do tell.
I got to go to the Crystal City. Traveling was interesting. It's not like you're there. I can only liken it.
All right, so this is one of the parts I'm a little questionable about. Just putting it out there. I don't know. We have seen the Crystal City a little bit. You know, it does appear more in like regular OBEs, sometimes breakthrough trips, NDEs on occasion. So basically out-of-body experiences in general. But again, just consider my citation that I put out at the beginning of the video. And anyone who kind of just came in the middle of this or something during the stream, please just, you may want to rewind and just hear what I said at the beginning of the video, or just listen and then go back to the citation at the beginning later.
To everything moving so fast and all these colors and everything. And then I was there. And I remember standing there and looking at this Crystal City. I have to say it was absolutely magnificent. It almost looked like, it's not apartment buildings, but you know, it's kind of sort of like, but they're like this. Everything was made of crystal. And there, somebody had come up to me, and somehow I recognized them, but I can't tell you who they were, because they gave me a hug, and I hugged them back, and they said, you can't stay. And I said, I know, it's just a visit, you know, and then I was gone, just like that. And going through these, again, it was all these types of shimmering lights, and then going through and around nebulas, which is why I am obsessed with nebulas actually now.
Do you know where that crystal?
Okay, so let me give you my opinion about nebulas. I think nebulas, there's a reason why humanity kind of connects with them, because I think they're like almost like an astral realm into themselves, right? They're part of the matrix, but so many see them, or even just like casually refer to them, that it begs the question, you know, what's that all about? And when you think about it, like, they're something that's pushed here. Now, mind you, how they're pushed here, we can go into a deep discussion about that, and the BS involved with a lot of the narrative surrounding them, and how pretty much any nebula that you see is admitted CGI. And I ran across an interesting, get this, guys, and I'm really, really curious, like, in the comment section or in the live chat, please leave your thoughts. I ran across someone about, like, maybe, I don't know, maybe 5, 6, 7, 8 years, a while ago, right? Let's just say 5 to 7 years ago. Ran across someone, you know, because I was big into, at the time, I was like looking at all the BS, you know, revolving around certain agencies that send things into the air that are lying through their teeth, right? Okay. And I feel like it's not just that they're computer generated images, but that there's some sort of, like when you hear NDEs say like, oh, there's colors that I can't explain that I experienced on Earth. Perhaps like there's some sort of like symbolic subconscious connection there. It started to really get me thinking about all that. And, you know, I don't know, right? And then the channel that I saw, and I'm sorry, I can't remember the name. This is so long ago. But this one guy started to share videos of quote unquote nebulas. And then he'd kind of compare them to what was official nebulas, right? You know, BS. And so what he would do is he'd film the clouds at like sunset or sunrise or during certain periods of the day. And kid you not, if you looked at these pictures, he showed it over and over and over again. And I'm sorry, I don't know the channel. I'm sure there's other people that have done this too, but shout out to whoever did this research back in the day. He would film the clouds and you'd look at them, and if you compared them to, you know, official nebula pictures, they were so damn close. So damn close. Like, you can see how, oh, like maybe that's how they're, you know, faking all this and having like this whole nebula thing put into the subconscious of everybody, the conscious or subconscious mind. And then when you start hearing things, and you can go a step further with this type of, like what we're talking about today, with experiencers talking about nebulas. And what's interesting again is like, she's an atheist, right? So she's got like this scientific, you know, materialistic type mindset. And so it makes sense that someone like her would experience and see things like nebulas when she crosses over and has an experience, right? Like, to me, it just fits. It's like, oh, these are the type of people who, like, you can zone in and assume the types of things that they're looking at and watching, right? And nebulas are awesome, right? They're beautiful, right? It's not that there's anything wrong with that. It's just that what's being presented, and all you have to do is like a molecule of research to see how it's openly admitted that time and time again, a lot of these pictures are admitted to be CGI over and over and over again. Now, is that the case every time? I don't know, because when I think back, you know, 5-7 years ago or whatever it was, to that guy just showing picture after picture after picture and video after video after video of how he can, you know, basically say, hey, this is a nebula. This is how they do it. It makes sense. It makes sense. Yeah. So, I don't know. Like, actually, yeah, I saw Cedric put in the comments, says the online etymology dictionary rocks 100%. That is an amazing resource. Everybody should, for anything that you're looking at, you look up the word matrix on the etymology dictionary. It'll blow you away. It'll fucking blow you away. Like, I never looked up nebula on the etymology dictionary. Let's look it up. Bear with me one moment. I'm going to bring this up and I'll read. I'm really curious what it says. Okay, nebula. Oh my God, you guys aren't going to fucking believe this. All right, nebula. I promise I never looked this up before in my life. Okay, I've used the etymology dictionary a lot, but not for this word. So nebula, a cloud mist, from Latin word nebula, plural nebulae, mist, vapor, fog, smoke, exhalation, figuratively darkness, obscurity, from Piru of neb, which is cloud. Wow. Wow. Okay, so that. How about that shit? Swear I've never looked that up before in my life. Ever. That's so crazy. All right, we'll continue. That's freaking nuts.
Crystal City was situated, like what world it was in, or?
No, and I wish I did, and I wish actually I knew of anybody who has also seen it. I would like to talk with them.
Well, if anyone has seen it, by all means, please like mention it in the comments, because that's really interesting.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
And from there, it was basically I was shown, the cosmic board. The cosmic board is a group of 9, and they're from different dimensions, and I didn't understand, and I still don't. I'm not going to pretend I do. I don't. They all work together, and they're from different dimensions, different areas of the universe, our galaxy included. They are. It's almost like keepers of peace. They help.
Yeah, right.
They help us.
Was it sort of like a government type of thing?
Kind of, sort of like, yes, because they were leaders from all different areas. And I remember standing in front of them. It was almost like there was a little podium even, I was standing in front of them, and I had even asked them if I was able to change my contract. And they said only to a certain degree. And I said, oh, okay. And I didn't say anything else, I was kind of like whisked away from this place. And then there was the place of healing. I was shown the place of healing, which the understanding was being here on Earth is a hell of a school to come to for a soul evolution. And it can be very, very hard. It can be very, very traumatic. And some souls will go to a place of healing, and they could be there for, there's no time, of course, but what we would consider a long time. I have a grandmother who's been there for 5 years. She's still there. These are the groups of loved ones who maybe we don't see them anymore, and we kind of wonder what happened to them. Well, they're in the place of healing. And so there's healing waters. There's also healing rooms of light. Healing rooms of light. It's almost like crystals, I guess, but it's like some type of light therapy, because some were like opals, some of them were like light pink, some were very pale blues, but souls were in there. I was also shown that as a soul, we come into these bodies, we choose these bodies, we choose our families, we choose not every single thing in our lifetime, but really main events we do choose, including our exits. We have more than one exit. How many, I don't know, but I just know that we have more than one.
8.
They're saying 8? Yeah.
I heard 8.
I don't know if on a soul level we decide, oh, well, maybe Heather's going to have 4 possible exits. I don't know. There's also...
it's like, where does that come from? Can we get a citation? Can we, just 8? Oh, no, 4. Like, can we get a little more information on that, please? Where's that coming from?
There's many different places for schooling. So there's education you can take.
The word schooling or school or learning or, lessons, I have kind of like my body twitches, right? It gets all out of whack when I hear stuff like that, because I'm so sick of hearing stuff like that. It really just doesn't sit well. Doesn't sit well. And again, that goes back to what we were talking about earlier. Like, how can you come here and learn and grow and excel and ascend if you have no memory of what you're supposed to learn and grow and evolve on? I mean, come on. If you're being memory wiped lifetime after lifetime, you don't even freaking know where you came from. You don't know why you're here, where you're going, you know, all these big questions, right? And then you have the question, this was always the big one, right? And I'm sure we all have, anyone who's a human, even if you're like on the lowest freaking perception scale possible, everybody's asked this question. Or these questions, like, where did I come from? Why am I here? And where am I going? These questions are key, right? And then the inevitable question, the question of all questions, is, well, if there is a God, where did God come from? And it's just like, oh, like, this is one of the weirdest freaking brainwashes in the Matrix. The question of, oh, where did God come from? Oh, well, you know, he's omnipresent. He's always been here. You know, it's always been, you know, God's just God. Who are you to question God? Case closed. You know, that's it. Stop asking questions, youngin'. That's enough out of you. Stop being a smartass. See, like, those types of questions are just like, oh, you know, get out of my face. Get out of my face. How dare you ask logical questions? You can't answer it. Nobody can answer it. Nobody can answer it. And I don't want to hear the bullshit. Oh, God is omnipresent. He's just God. Look, you know, he pulled up, you know, at the truck stop, decided to be God, and said, oh, well, I'm going to create Earth and create this horrible freaking meat suit that is just horribly designed, and everyone's going to fight with one another, and I'm going to send my only begotten son down to Earth to be crucified, and what, you know, or I'll send Muhammad or Jesus, Buddha, Muhammad, whatever, right? I'll send the whole laundry list of deities down, and angels, and all the Nephilim, and all that stuff, and Lucifer, and Satan, and blah, blah, blah. We can go we can go on and on and on, right? Get out of here, right? But the question remains, where did God come from? Nobody knows. But yet this question just seems to be overlooked, or as George Carlin used to say, nobody seems to notice, nobody seems to care, you know?
Anything that you want, it seems. There's like a big auditorium where I guess speakers come in. Maybe it's people like me, you know, we have not been back very long, and now we're going to tell our story to the group. It was just something that I had noticed. It's like a big auditorium. Everything was of marble. That's true. And the Hall of Records. I called them the Hall of Records because I didn't really know what else to call them. I didn't have language for a lot of this stuff, where people's lives are stored, the information of their lives.
Akashic records, yeah.
Oh, yeah, Akashic records, yeah. So I call them the Hall of, right? Because it just seemed like a big hall with, as far as you could see above, you know, were books. And mine was certainly there as well. You know, I was shown some past lifetimes where to clear and work on my karma were the very same people that I was going to, and I chose to meet again in this lifetime. And at that time, when I'm being shown all this, it's kind of like, oh yeah, you know, you totally get it, right? But when you're back on this plane in your physical body with that understanding, and then you have to work through that, it's pretty darn tough, you know, especially if it's been traumatic stuff, right? So what else was I shown? I was shown they were golden balls of history. and I was sitting.
I was gonna say something, but all right, it's getting late. I gotta go to sleep soon. I'm not gonna say
Sitting in a chair, and they were like globes about this big, circular, and so it would line up in front of my face, and the doors would open up, and I would see a little mini running movie. It was hard to watch, to be honest with you. I saw a lot of Civil War, that human beings are hard on each other. We harm each other, we murder each other through war. And then I saw all the changes that were to be coming with, now we call it climate change, but at the time I didn't know why. There was flooding, lots of floods, lots of floods, lots of food loss, fires, lots and lots of fires, death, tons of earthquakes and that sort of thing, human struggle. And I'm sure there were things, that maybe they were going to show me that was going to be wonderful, but I couldn't bear to see anymore, so I had asked them to stop.
At any time did you, or even like during your life review, did you feel judgment?
Never. Absolutely never. And it isn't even about, oh, you could have done better if you did this. It wasn't even about that. It was just to understand how we affect each other. May it be thought, may it be physical action, may it be words, may it be something that's written even. We really have an effect on each other because we are so energetically connected. I mean, really, we're brothers and sisters.
Wow. Well, Heather, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story with us, your experience. Really appreciate it. Feel free to hang out in the comments, when we release your episode. So if there's any questions or whatever, you can always answer directly. If you're open to that, that'd be great. Thank you.
Well, okay. That's great. And want to give a big shout out to Earth to the Other Side. Check out his channel. He's been doing a lot of great interviews, and he's only got about like 4,000 or 5,000 subscribers or something, and he puts out a lot of good interviews. So check him out. Check John out. And I think I'm going to leave things there. I was going to go a little bit longer, but it is getting a bit late here, so I think I'll stop it at this point and leave all of you to kind of do some more digging on Heather's story. And Heather, if you happen to be listening, you're more than welcome to come on, and you got an open invitation if you do want to share your experience and talk about some of your other experiences too. So thank you, everybody. Please consider hitting the like button on the way out. And it does help, and sharing this channel really helps too, regardless of what platform you're on, because the only way this information is found is by individuals like you who share the content. And it's not for everybody, but there's really, the channel is just not being promoted by the algorithm anywhere. And so I'm just trying to get the information out, see what happens, and that's about it, right? I do have a YouTube, well, obviously we're talking on YouTube, Odysee and Rumble, where we multi-stream usually every weekend. And I have a Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter where you can get notifications about any upcoming streams. There's also memberships available if you're interested. And the last Sunday of every month, we usually meet for a in-depth deep dive live stream. And there's a library of a few years available for anyone who's interested in joining in the live stream level and higher. And I also have an email list, and if you're interested in talking one-on-one, you can look at the description. There's a bunch of links there to check things out. And just anyone who is a Last Timers Club member, we will be having a members group Discord voice chat this Saturday. I think it's going to be June 22nd at 4 p.m. If you're interested, look forward to having you. If you're already in the server, if you're new, a new member in the live streams membership and higher, then you can send me an email, and you could just look at the join tab and get further information on how to reach out to me, and we'll get you in the server and get you taken care of before this Saturday. And anyone who sent emails in the last week and a half, I'm going to go through them and make sure that I get that taken care of as far as invites. So we'll see each other again soon. Thank you so much. Really appreciate you all, and we'll see each other when we see each other. Much love, okay? Take care of yourselves, and don't work too hard this week.